Today we're unveiling the sports card investor crystal ball. It's going to tell us exactly what players' cards will go up this year, and it will give us predictions on the overall sports card market. At least we think it will. The three of us are making our bold predictions for 2023 now. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to the first Cards on the Table episode of 2023. As you know, Cards on the Table is our fast-paced talk show where we cover important topics from the world of sports cards, and there is maybe no more important topic than what the heck is the sports card market going to do this year, and what cards should we invest in? We're going to talk a little bit about that right now, including some other juicy topics today, like a grading company being sued by a marketplace. We got a lot to talk about, and talking about it with me, Happy New Year, Teapot.
Happy
Welcome,
New Year.
welcome, sir.
Yes, the year of 23, Michael Jordan.
It is going to be a good year.
It's going to be a good year.
And Happy New Year to you, Doug. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
I'm sorry that the year has already started off poorly for you.
It hasn't. New year, new me. We're not even going to talk about it.
It unfortunately has. We're already, a bit into the new year. Kentucky's football team has yet to win a game. The Florida Gators, meanwhile, we are undefeated in 2023. It is a bad start to the year for Doug. But let's go ahead and jump into our first topic today, and this is looking towards this future. Our predictions, Teapot, for this year. Give me a player who you have your eyes on, Teapot, who you think could have success in the card market this year, and give me a little sense of what you think the card market will do this year, coming off of what has been, for the most part, a down 2022, if you, maybe not with vintage as much, but with a lot of modern cards. How are you seeing things for 2023?
Two big names this year, and they're guys who don't have a lot of cards yet, and that's Victor Wembanyama and Bryce Young. It's always all about the biggest names coming out next. And
I was that close to saying Victor.
Yep. So we don't need to compare our notes beforehand, and I mean, these guys are gonna. We saw Zion Mania. These guys are already saying Victor is gonna be, if he stays healthy, the greatest player of all time. He's unguardable. Blah blah blah. Right? We'll see. The guy is long. He's a beanpole. I worry about the health thing, but he is a freak of nature, truly, in the best possible way. And Bryce Young, obviously going pro, expected to go #1 overall, presumably to Parker on our team's Houston Texans. So we'll see what happens there. Another big name that is actually a player playing now that I think if he does what he's done the last 2 years, again, even close to it, is Shohei Ohtani. I think if Ohtani comes out and has a third year in a row of this unicorn stats with positive WAR on both sides of the baseball. Last year it was like, okay, we can't really give him the MVP again because of what Judge did. If he does it again, I think he's a lock for the MVP, unless somebody hits 75 home runs. I think he's going to win it. As far as what's going to go on with the market, I think a lot of maybe price stabilization. I think we're seeing signs of that. In fact, over the last 14 days, we're seeing a lot of players' prices start to go into the green, going up. And as far as just what I think people are doing, there's a lot of consolidation. I think there's going to be a lot of consolidation. People are posting their New Year's resolutions on Instagram, and that is the thing I saw more than anything. Consolidate, upgrade, get rid of things I don't like as much. So you might be getting
sell
deals
off a
on
lot of lower cards, a lot of base cards,
Yeah.
sell off a lot of that, and then take your money, pool it, and go buy those bigger high-end
I think
cards.
there's going to be a lot of sales volume this year. I don't know what prices are going to do.
Yeah. Okay, those are good predictions. And of course, I want to remind you, these are simply our best guesses. Please do your own research. As always, make your own assessments of things. But we are here to at least tell you what we think. And Doug, let us know, what do you think? What do you think about players and markets this year?
Well, I'm very worried now because I was going to say Victor Wembanyama. I was going to say Shohei Ohtani because maybe he moves to a team like the Dodgers or the Mets. And Teapot said both of those. And I don't want to be on the same wavelength as Teapot. So that bothers me a lot. And another player that I wanted to say but I can't say because there's all these guys on the internet that I'm getting a little burned out of the whole pump and dump accusation, so I can't talk about one person I really like. I'm going to shift a little bit to Jude Bellingham.
Okay.
So he's going to be on the move from Dortmund either very soon or in the summer. The front runners are either going to be Liverpool or Real Madrid, as it sounds right now. He's either going to be on a team that's loaded with talent like Real Madrid that's going to be a threat to win the Champions League, or he's going to be in his home country in England playing for Liverpool. with service to strikers like Mo Salah and Darwin Nunez, that's a guy who's pretty affordable right now. He's got a lot of cards, granted, for a 2020 rookie, but for $80 or $100, you can get some PSA 10s in his Chrome or his Sapphire, and I think that's a really nice way to go.
And what about the market?
I don't agree with Teapot on this one. I think the dip is still going to happen.
Dip is still going to happen. Okay.
Here's why. Just
Okay.
real quick. Overprinting of wax,
Yeah.
and the junk slab era hasn't seen its peak yet.
Yeah.
As PSA continues to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and all those subs continue to get pushed out, we haven't seen all of those come back yet. I think base cards are going to take a huge hit. I think outside of vintage, GOATs, and really high end, we're going to see the dip continue some more.
Yeah, could be the case. Interesting stuff. All right, a couple of players for me. First of all, on the high-end GOAT status, you got LeBron. You've got that scoring title just around the corner. He's actually playing great right now. He's been rattling off all these 40-point games. He's got, I think he's going to hit that probably, I think in February is I think when that's likely going to be hit, when he's going to set the all-time NBA scoring record. That's going to be huge. It was a big for Steph Curry's cards when he won the three-point record last year, early last year, I believe that was, beginning of last year. I think it could be big for LeBron's cards. It will bring him back in the spotlight. Tatis, everyone's forgotten about Tatis. His cards are way down.
Yep.
More speculative, but he's obviously still serving the suspension, still has to serve the suspension. Padres are a really good team. They were good last year without him. Now he's going to be back. Soto had a down year last year. If Soto returns to form, if Tatis comes back, those guys, both of them, both Soto and Tatis, I think could stand to have really good years if you want to do a little more speculation on something for short term for this baseball season. My market predictions, we're out of time. So my market predictions, you're going to find out Sunday. I've got some really strong thoughts on the sports card market this year. They will be covered Sunday night in my Sunday night video here on the Sports Card Investor channel, 7 p.m. on Sunday. Okay, guys, let's get to our second topic. Oh, by the way, I should mention, you're doing a video on the Market Movers channel this weekend as well, where you're giving additional predictions about cards to look at this year, right?
Yeah, I asked the team, I asked Instagram, it's everybody but me, honestly, and I just said, who do you think? What are some guys? And so there's some of these picks and a few others,
So check out his video on the Market Movers YouTube channel, which will come out this Saturday, and then on Sunday, my video on the Sports Card Investor channel. The last video you did on the Market Movers channel, you talked about some of your favorite pickups from the last year.
Yep.
I thought that would be a fun topic actually for all three of us to talk about today. So I asked you, Doug, and I asked you, Teapot, to actually bring in your three favorite pickups from the last year. And I think you brought them here in studio. Let's actually start with you, Doug. I'd love to see what your favorites were from this last year were.
Yeah, I won't get into all of the specifics on why. It'd kind of be a long story. But a 2019 Topps Finest Erling Haaland rookie refractor PSA 10. The refractors from this set, there's only probably maybe around 400 printed or so if you do the pack odds. And this in a PSA 10 only has a pop report in the 30s, so extremely low pop. He's in the Salzburg kit in this as opposed to Dortmund. This is the only chromium rookie I know of Erling Haaland in a Salzburg kit. And this is just a really important set to me. I've opened a ton of this over the pandemic. This was a set that was really near and dear to me. So this is a big one. Going back to the soccer world at the National.
I don't know. Look at this one.
So I got this at trade night at the National.
Okay.
2004 Panini Mega Cracks, Lionel Messi. Of course, he's the World Cup winner. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
But I traded a third-year Haaland gem for this PSA 9 Messi. Not incredibly valuable, but this is something I'm really thrilled to have. I can't really afford to play around in the GOAT space a lot, so actually having one of these means a lot. And I'm going to cheat a little bit for my third one because it's a two-parter. So we're going to bring out
what
this.
do we got here? What do we got here?
It's
We
a
got big
combination.
slabs.
One of the things that I started doing this year is I started pairing slabbed comics with the same card.
Yeah, that's cool.
So this is Todd McFarlane. This is a vintage, 88 Todd McFarlane Hulk 341 cover. Very iconic. This has been reproduced and recreated by a ton of different people. And I've got the card to match it in the PSA 10 that's from his 89 set. So I've actually done this with several different McFarlane books and cards. So this is what I'm really happy about.
That's sweet. What do you got, Teapot?
I went through these cards. I will point out a couple of them here. Just picked up, you asked me a couple weeks ago if I was going to disclose what card I was bidding on.
Oh,
that
you
was
got a
bigger
Drummond 101.
It was the Drummond. Yeah, I got shill bid on it
Nice.
on eBay and overpaid for it, but I still won the card. And then I picked up this Trout Stadium Club image variation. That's kind of the other little project that I'm working on is the Trout image variation.
That's neat.
The big ones that I showed off, first the Kobe Row Zero, Flair, PSA 8, That's in the price wheelhouse that I could play in for a card like this.
Beautiful.
But the sparkled Flair, I love Flair. This was kind of the final piece for my Drummond PC that I really needed in terms of Pistons cards. I haven't gone after as many of his other non-Pistons jersey cards, but this one in a BGS 10, obviously only 10 of these, 2012 Prism Gold, and then the big one for me was the finest gold Kobe in a PSA 8, which I believe, did you say you were after one of these
I
too?
am. I still haven't got one yet.
Probably
Love
in a higher
Love
grade,
it.
but yeah, so obviously this was a big
Love
one that
it.
I saw at the National.
Those are cool cards. Those
Yeah,
are great
very
cards. So we're seeing a mix of PC cards with a little bit of investment, long-term investment,
Yep.
sprinkled in, maybe not so much with Drummond.
Hey,
but
2012
perhaps with
golds.
guys like Kobe.
These hold
That's
value
true. 20,
no matter
2012
what.
golds do. And
Yeah.
obviously Messi, man, that's already turned out to be a very nice investment
That
for
looks
you.
like more than 3 cards.
I brought a few here. Well, you know what?
let's see
Everybody
here.
on the channel gets to I just filled a box full. Everyone on the channel gets to see when I purchase, the big cards, right?
Yeah.
At card show. So I didn't bring the big cards today. I brought some cards you might not have seen that I bought, cards that I don't think I showed anyone yet, cards that you guys might not have even seen, because they're a little more personal in nature. Check this out. Check this out.
better
Bro. Doug,
not
you're
spell-
gonna like this
if
one.
that's-
You ready?
If it spells
You ready?
Tebow,
Hold
I'll
on.
walk.
T
I'll walk.
E B
Bum.
O W Tebow! Look at that! Isn't that beautiful?
Very
All
cool.
5 of those. Now, I bought. A guy had assembled the complete set. I bought it off of him on eBay. I did not do the work to assemble it myself, but he had done the work, and I said, "I appreciate your efforts, sir. I will gladly purchase that from you."
Are these numbered?
They're all numbered, yeah. So they're difficult to get. There are 50 of each. They're each numbered at 250, but the whole thing is numbered at 250. So there were 50 printed of each of them. All jerseys, all obviously autographs. This is just a fun little one. I was with Steve Aoki in Boston
Yeah.
at the Fenway Card Show earlier this year. Right before he threw out that awful first pitch that got all the viral attention, I was literally with him that day, and so Topps made a Topps Now card of him throwing out that first. I thought that was kind of fun. I had to pick that one. And the final one, real quick, and we'll move on to our next thing, is you guys know
I know that one.
I love stained glass. You guys know I'm a sucker for these 2012, the first year of stained glass, the real stained glass where you could actually see through the card. Now I had already owned the LeBron and the Kobe. I picked these up at previous card shows, but then this summer in LA, I found the guy who had the entire, all 97 other stained glass cards. So you got literally just like unbelievable, the entire set of stained glass. And what I want to do with these, and this is hard to put this whole set together. I mean,
Scotch
just
tape.
absolutely incredible.
Scotch tape.
And there's a lot of big names in here. I mean, you got all the rookies from, this is 2012, just like that. Does Andre Drummond have a stained glass card?
Yeah.
Does he really? He's somewhere in. I didn't even know. But you've obviously got like guys like Jimmy Butler and Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard. You got a lot of big names in this 2012 stained glass set. So,
You hate Kentucky so much, I'll take the AD off your hands.
yeah, it's going to stay. So I got to make a beautiful light display of those at some point. That was fun, ladies and gentlemen. We got a couple more good topics, but first, check this out. All right, we are back. And if you do not have that Sports Card Investor app on your phone, or if you have not opened it recently, go open it right now because the sports card market is heating up here in January. The early numbers are good, and that Sports Card Investor app is the ultimate way to find good deals on sports cards. So open up the Sports Card Investor app on your phone. Okay, guys, this next topic is a juicy one. Over the holiday break, Alt sued Beckett. Alt is the big marketplace and grading company. The big marketplace and vaulting company, Alt, sued Beckett, the grading company. And the reason why this happened is because Alt purchased a Steph Curry 2009 Topps Chrome Gold Refractor BGS 9.5 for $168,000 back in 2020. They then decided that they were actually going to crack the card and resub it with PSA, which they did, and PSA came back and claimed that the card was altered. They said that the card was trimmed. Oops. So they wouldn't grade it. So Alt went back to Beckett and said, all right, we'll just resubmit it for grading for Beckett. And Beckett says that the card is trimmed and will not regrade it and will not put it back on one of their slabs, even though it was previously in a Beckett 9.5 slab. Now Alt is holding on to a trimmed card in non-graded condition that they paid $168,000 for. Alt sues Beckett. This is big news in the sports card world. What does this mean? What type of precedents does this set? Is this going to be successful? Teapot, we're going to start with you.
Well, I think the big thing is we're seeing the credibility of grading companies continuously called into question. People are paying hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for cards. They expect more than anything in those cases for it to be authentic, a true copy of the card, not altered. The problem here that I'm seeing that Alt's going to have is proving they didn't alter the card when they took it out and cut it. How are they going to prove that? They cracked it out themselves. Now it's not real. The big picture here is this is just more evidence of why we need machine vision, computer vision to analyze cards, authenticity, other ways that you can analyze whether or not a card is real, altered, those types of things. You take a gamble when you crack a card out of a slab. You take a gamble when you buy a card that is graded that says it's authentic. Ultimately, I'm not sure how much they can do here. I guess it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Admittedly, I usually kind of just ignore these types of headlines because I don't know, it's too much. It's too much for me. I don't.
I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, it's big money involved here. Who do you think's in the right and the wrong? What do you think's going to happen, Doug?
It's a very, very curious situation for a couple of reasons. The biggest one, what you said, and let me preface this by saying I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a lawyer. I've got no dog in this fight. So if I say something crazy, we might have to cut it. I don't know. But I can't, with Alt having cracked the card themselves, there's that time period where the card is out, it's raw.
Yeah.
And you can't, I don't see how that falls back on Beckett with that gap there. But another thing is the value that they're putting it at. They've, what they claim, $350,000, $360,000 is what that card should be worth. I don't know where they get the number from. I don't think there were comps on that card. I don't think there were recent sales of that card in that time period to justify the number. So I think even if they could prove that Beckett was in the wrong by authenticating a trimmed card, I don't think that they could then prove that value is what it is, right? That could be a tough thing to do. So I think there's a lot of question marks for Alt, but I don't know that this is really going to matter in the long term as far as people's perception of grading companies. Our comments on this show every week are full of people saying grading is a scam. Those people are only going to be validated. They're not going to change their opinion. Maybe more people join that. BGS already was losing business to PSA, right? I mean, they're at kind of an all-time low, at least in recent memory, as far as the amount of cards that they're grading. So it's not like their business can be hurt a lot more. So I don't think there's a huge impact overall. It's something we probably forget about in another month or two. We're on the next drama, right?
I'm not a lawyer. I cannot imagine this lawsuit being successful. I don't see it being successful in addition to the cracking thing that you guys said. I think Beckett's argument is going to be our job is to give our best opinion, our expert opinion, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're always right 100% of the time. And they're probably going to say the $50 that we charge to grade that card, you should not rely on that alone to make a $300,000+ decision, which of course everyone does rely on that. But I think they're going to wave their hands up and say, we gave our opinion, not our fault, and I think they'll probably get away with it, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch. I'm going to be interested to see where that goes. I'm also interested by this next topic. This was one that was suggested by one of our viewers after our last Cards on the Table episode. Every week, we ask you, the viewer, to leave comments for topics to cover in the next episode, so go do that right now. And this viewer asked, could vaulting have a negative impact on card shows? And the thought process was, we've seen eBay introduce their vault, Golden's got a vault, Collectors, we've talked about all this, right? PWCC's got a vault, there's a lot of vaults, Alt's got their vault. All these vaults, we talked about it a bunch.
I've got a vault.
So if people are putting their cards in these vaults, then are there going to be as many cards for sale at card shows? Are people going to be bringing cases of cards, or a lot of stuff going to be in vaults? So is this going to hurt the selection of cards you see because so many valuable cards are going to be tucked away in vaults, perhaps? What do you think, Doug?
I think probably not. I think the kind of if you're going to vault a card, you probably weren't planning on bringing it to a card show anyway. That card in your mind was not for sale or not for trade, or you probably wouldn't have secured it away in a vault. I think what might be more interesting, and like you're a good example of this. In Toronto, you secured a big trade with a card that was in your vault.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter that the card was vaulted. You were
true.
still able to make a transaction with it.
I did. I
would
walked up with a card on my phone.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, it's in my PWCC vault. I'll transfer it to you right now.
So
right?
that's the next thing. Do
Yeah.
we see digital displays at dealers' tables? Like, here's what I've got on hand. Here's what I also have vaulted. Here, flip through my catalog of vaulted cards. We can make a deal digitally. So I think, this will probably just lead to something along those lines. You'll see the technology intervene and will progress.
Interesting. It's very forward thinking of
you.
you being a Kentucky guy, Doug. I like that. That's
Enough.
taking a future look into the world. Teapot, what do you think here?
Card shows aren't going anywhere. I mean, as long as there's cash will flow. Cash is king. People like going to shows. I do think there's a risk that we're seeing maybe a bit of an oversaturation now and overscheduling of larger regional shows that are kind of competing with each other. And I'm not talking about like if there was something at Burbank and then the East Coast National where it's like, okay, maybe people from opposite sides of the country can get to one or the other. Sometimes you just have this like big show in Wisconsin and another one in Michigan, and you're like, people are kind of just, which one do I go to? Especially dealers, having a hard time picking. But the vaulting piece doesn't impact it at all, in my opinion. Now, the big piece that needs to be fixed, and for the reason Doug said, the perfect example, I had that written down. The big piece that needs to be figured out is how do they make going to a show more accessible in terms of knowing what's there and what's where.
Yeah.
Who has my card at the show? I can try to walk around, and sometimes it frankly feels like Groundhog's Day. Oh, yeah. I go from one table to the next, like the last level of the original Super Mario. If I don't find the right green tube to go down and swim past the fish, I'm just going to see a bunch of F1 cards over and over, or a bunch of NT cards over and over.
A bunch of
I'm
Prism
stuck.
base cards.
Bunch of Prism base
Lots
cards
of
over
Prism
and over,
base
and
cards.
all the same cards over
Yeah.
and over and over again, and it kind of wears on you. And you're like, okay, I'm out of here. The benefit to buying online is you can search for what you want. You can set up notifications. You can look at those things. So I think if dealers, at least even just a show map, it's like this dealer, 1, 2, 3 cards has this type of offering, including key cards from this player, so that you can sort of map out where you want to go. Something to help the trade show experience a little bit more would be a need, but card shows aren't going anywhere.
Maybe it's a feature in the future of Market Movers. I don't
Might
know.
have to be.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But it sounds pretty cool. I like those thoughts. I agree with both of you guys. Hey, thanks so much for that question. Leave your question for our next episode in the YouTube comments, and go get that Sports Card Investor app. Guys, it's free. That is our free app, the Sports Card Investor app, in the App Store on your phone to help you find the best deals on sports cards. Go check out the Sports Card Investor app. If you enjoyed the show, hit like, hit subscribe, and once again, Happy New Year to you guys. Happy New Year to you, and we'll see you back soon with our next episode.